Good evening, all in society. It is Monday, December 29th. We only have a couple more days left in 2025 as far as trading days. So we have the 30th and 31st. So 2 more days to do whatever we can and hopefully have your portfolio in positive for 2025. And don't forget, January 1st is New Year's Day, so the market is going to be closed. And then so we'll have Friday will be the first day of the new year. So just be mindful of that. I do want to take the time to say thank you for everybody who has subscribed to the newsletter, the investing, um, really just me sharing my experience. Because again, I'm not a professional, but after being invested in the market these past 3-4 years, I've learned quite a bit, and I'm finally adapting a strategy that is allowing me to have consistent returns. We'll look at it in just a second. 2025 is going to be another year, positive year, that we beat the S&P 500's performance. I've only been doing that really for this year and last year. I didn't really focus on that the year before then. So I'm happy that the years that I've been focusing on it, we beat the S&P 500's return, and we're going to do it considerably again for 2025. I did pretty much close out all of the shares that I have for the 2025 portfolio. Today was down, so we'll probably, after today is settled, we'll look at it. We'll probably finish the year for the 2025 portfolio up 40%. I can't see it fall any less than that. And I just saw the S&P 500's performance is around 19%. So we essentially doubled the performance of the S&P 500. So if there's ever a reason for you to join the Patreon, right now is the time where I start building the portfolio from scratch to tore everything down. We're going to start with about $4,000 in cash, and I'm not investing in anything. We're just going to take that cash and we're going to invest. We're going to invest in those 4 major themes that we discussed in the All in Society 2026 top stock picks. So just get ready for that. 2 out of those picks, we're going to talk about one tonight. And 2 of those picks, we're probably going to jump in soon as January 1st hits and we're allowed to trade because we see momentum in those trades. I'm kind of mirror it with I want momentum. Last thing I want to do is buy something and then it just sits and doesn't do anything the entire year. We can use that money to find other places that are moving and have momentum. But that being said, we will more than likely invest in all 4 of those themes and those stocks or commodities that we suggested for the top picks for 2026. All right, so I'll definitely start posting about that more consistently, probably on as much as I can on a daily basis, especially as we build out the portfolio. Like halfway through the year, we should probably be fully invested and have just a little bit of cash inside just in case another opportunity comes. And that's why I didn't really focus on it too much. I was really diving in around April once everything was on sale because of, I think Trump called it Liberation Day, right? With the tariffs and everything. And so we were really sticking and moving and getting ourselves positioned, and we did pretty well. Some of the companies we invested in our returns were over 100%, and that was Vertiv. And then we had a couple other ones where were 30% or higher. So it's very nice compared to the S&P 500 return of around, we'll probably get around 18 to 20% at the close of the year. All right, so let's go over some of the stuff I talked about or I saw today and some of the moves that I made. I just want to show you real quick. This was as of close of Friday. Oops, I probably should share my screen, right? So you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. Okay. So this is, I changed the name. So this is the 2025 portfolio, but I changed the name today after closing out everything. As you can see, the close on Friday, S&P 500, which is at bottom, is a purple line, had a turn about 19, just over 19%. Whereas our account, the 2025 portfolio, was up 41%. Like I said, it'll probably level down to about 40%, and that's what we're going to have for the year because I outright sold some stuff and to create some cash for us to invest in for next year. And then I nibbled off of some, and then I added the rest of those shares I transferred them to a different portfolio. So same thing I did last year. Only shares that I transferred to this portfolio last year was NVIDIA shares and Microsoft. I want to say that Microsoft was probably overall up maybe 85% now because Microsoft's been getting beat up, but those shares were well over 100%. And NVIDIA, those shares were probably around 75% a positive or so just from buying and holding. Um, and I continue to do that. So I personally, some of them I transferred over. Some of them were even losers, like MP Materials. Instead of just selling that and taking a loss, I moved it over into the uh, what did I name? The legacy portfolio is what I call it. Moved it over to the legacy portfolio, and depending on what's going on with that company, I'll continue to follow. I might just sell it outright and just have some cash for that portfolio to make some moves if I see fit, or we'll just let it ride. So you don't have to sell everything, just start over every year. You can do like me, kind of a mix, sell some, take some profits, and implement that into your next year, or just move the shares if you like the shares long term. I like Netflix long term, so I held on to those, moved those over, and I didn't have any Uber shares, and I definitely wanted Uber shares, so I moved those over as well. And then I just outright sold the Apple shares we had, so we locked in about I want to say around like 30% gains in Apple. I think there might be other opportunities for us to get Apple, depending on what happens is this upcoming earnings report. But I just think there's other opportunities better than Apple right now. All right, so that's it for the 2025 portfolio, and we'll kind of move over to what exactly happened today. And we'll do a deep dive in one of the options that actually sold today. So unfortunately, today was a low volume day, a lot of volume in the market, and we saw a lot of selling off. We had a pretty strong last week, so the overall market sold. So we'll look at the scoreboards, and the scoreboards are the three major indexes. So the S&P 500 was up just about 30% or just over 30%. NASDAQ was down 0.5%, and the Dow was down 0.5% as well. We'll kind of glance over the options and we'll just look at, think of it a long-term investing. We'll get in the long-term investing mindset. And then later on in the year, we'll probably start talking more heavily about options. I still have options, only really sold out of one. I'm just going to kind of see how the year goes. We're heading into earnings, so we probably won't be making any too drastic moves. There is one company I'm considering jumping in, so make sure you have the notification button on if you are a All in Society member, a paid member. So VIX actually spiked today, was up to about 15 after its previous close on Friday. It was 1347, but then it fell down and closed around 14. But still up 4% for the day. We already talked about the NASDAQ and S&P 500. NVIDIA was down to just under 186 today after closing above 190 on Friday. So I did fight back. That was good to see, and it closed around towards the top end of the day rather than the bottom. So that was good to see it fight back. Meta kind of did the same today. Really would like these shares to be closer to $700 before we even consider doing anything with that. Apple held strong today. That was good to see that it was positive after I want to say it was down last week. Pretty much flat the past 5 days. Uber, there's some money flowing into Uber. It's good to see. Hopefully, a lot more flows into Uber, but it finished positive for the day. Amazon pretty much flat down, just under 0.2% for the day. And Vertiv Holdings, a company that if you're invested in NVIDIA, I highly suggest you getting some shares of Vertiv, especially as they're down close to around 20% from their most recent all-time high of 202.45. Okay. Gold. So this is the company I wanted to talk to us about and get a little bit more information on. So gold sold off 4% today. Very aggressive sell-off. It really made me upset because we had an option contract that was up 50% on Friday. I thought if there was going to be any sell-off like this, or any sell-off at all, it'd probably be like a 1 or 2%, and then I can make a decision whether or not I want to hold it or not. But unfortunately, it opened down 3%, which killed our gains, and we actually sold out of the contract. It was, like I said, the contract was up 50%, which was a profit of about $1,100. And I sold the thing making a profit of just under $200. So that really hurt my feelings. But we'll rinse and repeat, and there'll be more momentum back in this trade. So we're not too devastated. We'll get back. We'll find another time where momentum is back in gold side. But I did want to talk about why exactly gold fell today. Now, when I woke up this morning, I looked at the futures and I saw that gold was down. I contributed to the de-risking because Trump and Zelensky were having talks about a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. But that 4% drop, it seemed like it was really, really aggressive for it to be selling off because of geopolitical de-risk, as we'll put it. Because gold, during geopolitical tensions, that's when people usually find safety in an investment like gold. And then, of course, we had a nice run up in gold, so of course there's going to be year-end profit taking. Okay, because gold was one of the top assets of 2025. More than likely, as there were institutional investors and funds, are probably the one who were taking profits. The U.S. dollar did rebound. Now, this wasn't something necessarily in my mind, but it says the U.S. dollar index DXY is seeing corrective bounce from its recent multi-month low, making dollar-dominated gold more expensive for international buyers and putting pressure on spot prices. So a stronger dollar has gold going the opposite way. But the main focus probably here today, and this was information I did not get until I did a little bit of research at the close, and what Google's Gemini is saying was the primary reason was this CME margin requirement hike. So essentially, CME Group raised margin requirements for gold and silver futures contracts today. And so this forces investors that are in these levered trades, so like you're getting like 3x, 5x return of whatever the base return on the market is, you're going to have to put more money up in this investment as collateral, or what more likely what people did, they liquidated their positions, so they sold out of their positions. And so in a day where there was thin liquidity for the holidays, this forced kind of like this aggressive selling and an aggressive price drop. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of all of these things that came together and unfortunately killed the trade that we had. I really even like considered, but really not, because I still had 6 months in that contract. It wasn't expired till June, but I just we've seen it drop like that. It was clearly losing momentum. And last thing I want to do now is just hold contracts where I can see the momentum is clearly gone. Once we have these indicators that we use, and it's really showing us, engaging us momentum. When it starts dipping and going the opposite direction, it's just time for us to take profits. And there's typically another um, option or another trade that we can put money to work in. So that's essentially what I did. I'm keeping cash on the side. Um, Next year, I'm going to be more focused on keeping at least 20% in cash. And right now, I'm practicing that heading into 2026. But I'm already looking at another contract that is going to kind of push that to its limit. So we'll see what happens. At least 10%. I can work with 10%. All right, Robinhood was down just under 0.6% for the day. That thing has been really choppy for the past month, down just under 9%. Netflix was down 30% today. DraftKings down just under 1%. MP Materials took a hit, down almost 3% today, and Microsoft essentially even. So that's pretty much it. I will say, and I'll kind of give you guys a freebie, but when I enter the trade and exactly what contract I'm in, you're only going to be able to see that is if you're in the Patreon. But I like TSM. It didn't really take a big of a hit uh, as Nvidia did, and Nvidia was down over 1%. TSM was only down 0.6%, and it held that 300, which was good. So if I'm going to jump in another option, TSM is likely the candidate. It still has the momentum. I liked what I saw here. It kind of held steady at that 300. So if I do anything, more than likely, as far as options, it will be TSM, but you're only going to know when I enter, or if I enter, if you are in the Patreon and you are a paid Patreon member, and it's only $10 per month. But as well as the options, don't forget, we'll be building that long-term investing portfolio for us starting January 1st. So you want to know exactly when we enter um, positions, or if we decide to exit positions, and just understand our strategy. We're going to break that down essentially every day well into 2026. So now's a great time to join the Patreon if you're not a Patreon member, but you are a free member. And that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.